we'll call the meeting to order. Jen, would you take roll, please?
Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
Commissioner Thel?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Corbin?
Here.
Mayor Lindsay?
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
Motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under appearances and acknowledgments, seeing none, is there anything you want removed from the consent calendar?
Make a motion we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under old business, hearing upon the application for the sale of alcoholic beverages, transfer of retail on-sale liquor license from LTZ LLC to Teasers to Hideaway Investments LLC Teasers. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to that? Okay.
Sorry, that's me.
Okay. Would you please come to the microphone, and then if you'd state your name so that people at home can hear that, we'd appreciate it.
My name is Anna Niemeyer, and I am requesting this transfer.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the council? Okay. I guess my question would be in that, is it a change of ownership or
Yes.
a change of...
Yes, we are purchasing as a contract for deed the
Okay.
building and the business
Very
from
good.
Jeff and Lori Gates that currently own it.
Uh-huh.
And we're excited.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Any questions or comments from the commission?
That's all I was curious with.
Uh-huh.
Change ownership.
Okay. If not, then we will move on to new business, which is approve the application for sale of alcoholic beverages, the transfer of the retail on-sale liquor license, LTZ LLC Teasers, to Hideaway Investments LLC Teasers. Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
So move. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, and we just approved the transfer.
Thank you.
So,
Good luck. Have fun with it.
yes, yes.
We will send this into the state tomorrow and be in touch, okay? We'll get it sent in.
Do we need to do anything with the video bladder? I'm sorry.
Thank you, dear.
Okay. Okay, number 2, resolution number 2017-15, approve a plat, Folan's Edition. And I'm going to ask Chad if you would address this, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a plat for Folan's Edition. There's the page 1 of the plat is included in the agenda packet. It's actually a replat of a portion of some other lots in the Smith and Trowes Edition. Because it's a replat, it doesn't have to go before the Planning Commission first. Mr. Folan and his agent, Dannenbring, Paul Allen Construction, had received approval for a twin home in that location. So this is the associated action that's necessary to split that lot into separate parcels that will be in conjunction with the twin home, I guess you could say.
Very good. And it's already been through planning and zoning.
Correct. Yes.
Very good.
As far as the twin home approval, there's no need for them to approve the plat because it's a replat. And I would recommend approval of this replat.
Very good. Questions or comments? Not? Do we have a motion?
Go ahead. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2017-15, approve a plat, Folan's Edition. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Authorize the mayor to sign change order number 1, Fusion Automation Incorporated, 2017 electric distribution improvements. And Brad, I'm going to ask you if you'd like to address that one.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. At a previous meeting, we had a request from Fusion Automation for an extension for 3 weeks, and we granted them 2 weeks, extending it to October 15th. After October 15th, we subsequently had substantial amounts of rain, multiple occasions, And while it hampered them somewhat in the excavation process and the processes they were doing, what it really did was it hampered cleanup, and they were going to have a lot more days of cleanup because they were tearing up much more surfacing when they were going through people's yards and that type of stuff. And so that's where the extension request came from, was from the amount of work that was going to have to go into, fixing up the stuff that they tore up in the process of construction. And it was recommended that we, discussing it with the engineers and everything, that it did qualify for the standards in the specifications for additional days. And so the recommendation is to add 11 days and bringing us up to October 26th. And that's what's in the date in the change order documents.
Okay. And your recommendation is to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions or comments? Okay. I am in agreement with Brad. Do we have any other
They
comments?
won't be asking for any more extensions after this?
No, sir.
This will be the last one.
This will be the last one.
What if we get another storm and we're worried about tearing up property?
I think we've been as generous as we need to be at this point in time. They are already 15 days past or 16 days now past the original contract date. And so I think, we've been generous enough with our time. There is a concern that once liquidated damages start, that they may pull off the project. And so we wanted to make sure that they got the secondaries done in as much as we could, so we could loop back the improvements that they made this year and have a loop where right now we don't have that. So that's the thing we've been working with them, is to try to finish up the secondaries, get the blocks that they started completed, plus complete the loop so that we have a way to backfeed everything when we're done at the end of this year. So.
And the other thing is we'd like them to finish up their process so that they don't leave it for us to have to clean up before winter.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign change order number 1, Fusion Automation Incorporated, 2017 electric distribution improvements.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, number 4, discuss the Lake County Bypass, County Highway 38, 10th Street South, County Highway 35, Highland Avenue. Chad, would you want to address this?
Sure, I can say a few words. Thank you, Your Honor. This is an item just on the agenda for the commission to discuss. I had talked with the county highway superintendent about the highway there. What's commonly referred to as the bypass, the county road on 10th Street, and then also on Highland Avenue all the way to Pizza Ranch. That is a county road. And we had some discussions for several years, but most recently about a year ago, and there were some meetings with 1 or 2 commissioners and the public works director at the time, and we just haven't visited for a while. And with the new commission in place now, after talking with Mr. Fedler, he had recommended perhaps it's a time to just reapproach the county. We're actually on the agenda for tomorrow morning to visit with them a little bit about the roadway, what the future may bring for that roadway as far as improvements, estimated when those may be needed, and so on. Just to have a discussion, maybe there will be, and we're hoping there will be, perhaps a smaller working group with a couple members from each commission to be able to talk about that and see where this may go. So that's sort of the basis for this discussion. I know the commission individually, I've talked to many of you on different topics about that, and so it was thought that it would be good to talk about this before this commission to see what your thoughts may be, and perhaps even if you would select two members, or probably 2 for quorum issues, to, if available, to go to the meeting and also talk about this tomorrow at their meeting at 10:20.
And as you are aware, and that they have their 5-year plan that they went over here, what was it, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, in that at their county commission meeting, and the bypass wasn't in it, so it's kind of a we have the hospital down there now, we have more housing down in that area, and so just the question is what do they see as plans for that road in the future? So
On the south side of the bypass, excuse me.
no, go ahead.
On the south side of the bypass, there's two two places that are inside city limits, Mustang Seeds and the hospital, right? Otherwise, everything else is in the county.
Correct, yes.
Correct.
And then we got everything, the city maintains Highland Avenue from the Pizza Ranch down to the curb.
For snow removal and everything else, but not for rebuilding the road if that, or repairs if that's needed. That's still a county road for repairs, and those are some of the concerns that we, want to discuss with them, as, what do they see as, as there's more wear and tear on that road. So there's questions, but not answers.
When we put the railroad track in here, 7, 8 years or a little bit longer, that was a city project with the railroad, right?
Correct. Yeah, and also, as you had alluded to, Commissioner Thill and the mayor, from 4th Street south, going south, approximately in that location, that's also half city, half county, if
Yeah.
you will, where the west side of the road, that's where the city limits line is,
Yeah.
essentially. And then the entire route, whether it's within the city limits or not, is actually on the county highway system. It's listed as a county road on some resolutions that they have, and so to be as blunt as possible, I myself didn't realize it was technically a county road until we started doing some research on the hospital annexation and such like that, and started talking to some of the longtime staff, and at that point it became apparent that it also doesn't appear that as if there's any sort of written maintenance agreement. There's sort of been, I'll call it a gentleman's agreement, if you will, on the maintenance. And as you'd indicated, as you know well from your time as being with the city actually does, I'll call it routine maintenance from the Pizza Ranch corner down to the beginning of the curb. And so that would be chip seals, maybe patches and things like that. But painting, and part something as I'm thinking of and trying to think of as we start to plan road inventories, costs of improvements and such as before we would implement more expensive improvements. For example, an overlay would be a mid-cost improvement type of improvement, and then a much more expensive improvement would of course be a reconstruction. Before we get into any of those, it'd be nice to have further these discussions and see what the future may be of that road, how what their thoughts are on making improvements and timelines for improvements and such.
Or cost shares, anything that could come up in the discussion. But Chad had visited with me about, getting the discussions going again, because it's been quite a while since that's happened.
Yeah, this goes clear back to, I remember even when Commissioner Delzer was on the commission and working through the hospital, and there was a lot of things that came up that nobody knew about, and everybody thought this, and then Chad did a lot of digging at the courthouse and figured out it wasn't even a city road, and so we legally couldn't help, and so there's a lot of things going on with it, everything from, we're talking something as little as maintenance, but there's other issues and bigger things that we also need to be looking at. Lighting, we need to be looking at. Public safety, we need to be looking at. If you do an overlay, do you do a 4-lane instead of just the one turning lane? And there's the housing, and a lot of those apartments are going up over there, and a lot of development. Is that part of our master plan? And I mean, it's great, Chad and Mayor, for bringing this forward, because we need to start discussing this before it really becomes an issue. Then it becomes a big fight, and nobody needs that. We don't need to be doing that. Let's sit down, like you said, get some people together, both sides, get the public involved if they want to be. Sit down, discuss it, work it out before it becomes, something big that or work it out before we have to make quick decisions and, get it figured out. Write it all down and then figure it out.
Other comments or questions?
What kind of action are we looking for on this item?
I don't think any action is necessary
Not
tonight
really,
myself.
not really, just basically in that, Chad had been discussing it with me, and I said, rather than us, before we went to the county commission, and the commission here didn't know anything about it, I said, let's bring it before the commission. Because he's on the agenda for tomorrow morning, and we don't have anything in mind other than what is the future of the bypass, what is the condition. It wasn't really in their 5-year plan. What kind of things do we see happening in the next 5 years? What's the condition of the road going to be in the next 5 years? Right now it's harvest time, and there's a lot of truck traffic that's on there, and so besides the traffic, from the city to the hospital, the truck traffic going, truck traffic does do a lot of wear and tear on a roadway. So anyway, it was bringing it before the commission to find out what questions you have, what questions you may, like Chad to ask or address with the county on the conditions of the road. As far as a motion, I don't know that there's a motion that we need to have.
I have one more question.
Certainly.
Are you gonna take core samples from the Pizza Ranch all the way down to the curve that the city is maintaining right now? And let the county take care of core samples on the other, or what's gonna happen there as an engineer?
I think that's all part of the discussion.
That's all part of the
Yes.
discussion. We
We
haven't
can't-
talked anything about yet.
Can't necessarily answer that now. It's-
Yeah.
Okay.
And
See, and then, and a few
It's not
years
our road.
back,
It's not our road.
a few years back, Chad had approached, the commission and the county about doing a joint study because there are some state funds available. And at that time, the county didn't have it in their budget to want to do that. So that could also be a question again, would they want to do a joint venture and applying for assistance from the state on a study of the bypass? There's lots of questions in that we don't have any answers, but the thing that I am in agreement with Chad is, let's start the discussion.
I had talked, with Commissioner Johnson is the streets commissioner, and so we've talked at different times about the various subjects. Commissioner Corbin is the electric, and talked with him and utility director Lawrence on lighting. So it's sort of worked with everybody at some point in time, and then of course Bob, with your experience, we've talked about some different things too. And so if some.
And
Somebody
now that
can come to the meeting tomorrow, that'd be
you
great.
mentioned that further, in that, maybe on this here and that, we should have the commission appoint the members to work with you on this. And I am in agreement, if it works for Kelly, since that's, his department, the street department, that he be one of them, for you to work with as a liaison for, discussions. So that's something I guess I'm going to throw out to the commission. Is there someone who would like to be a part of that?
Are you available tomorrow,
I am
Commissioner
not.
Johnson?
I am not. That's one of the difficulties. But one of the things I'm concerned about, I think it's a good idea. Okay, I think, like I said, talking now whether we do something 2 years from now or 5 years from now, start the discussion, ramp it up, so that we're all on the same page with the county. The other thing is, that question of whose responsibility is it, though? I think it's all our responsibility, and since they are county commission, we are the city commission, the dialogue comes down to us talking about where are we going with this. Things change in the county, complexion of things changes. We heard in the report, so I think there's part of me that thinks maybe we should be having, this may sound like it could be two large groups of ducks talking to each other, but should the county, the two commissions be meeting together to initiate discussion? All of us be talking to all of us, in a sense, and then boil it down to maybe a study group or something like that. I mean, it's not that I don't trust Chad or you or myself to give us the straight skinny what gets said. It's just sometimes everybody hearing everything is important. So maybe would it be a thought to extend an invitation to the county to have a special meeting with both groups? I don't know. That way, everybody hears everything. I don't know, a thought.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I'm in agreement.
I'm not at all trying to boondoggle it or stop it at all. I'm trying to get everybody to hear everything.
Yeah, and that makes so much more sense, because when you first asked that, Mayor, my first, initially, I'm like, well, I don't even know what the issues are with the county, as far as, maybe they're bigger on the streets, or maybe they're bigger on the electrical part, or maybe they're bigger on the maintenance part, or, my area, maybe they're worried about the speed limits and things.
Exactly.
And then,
I think those are
so
legitimate things.
depending on what their hot issues are, it depends on where our expertise fits in and sits in. And I'm not opposed to doing a joint, commission meeting.
I think it'd be
and-
great.
Discussion,
especially on the initial part, and I mean, not that we all like to have and schedule another meeting for not only us and them, but at the same time, I think it's an important enough issue that it certainly wouldn't hurt for everybody to get together and only have this item on the agenda, because otherwise it'll be 2 days and we'll still be sitting there talking and discussing it.
I think it's a great idea.
And that way we can all find out the infrastructure of everything, because that's a big part
Well,
of this.
and when you say infrastructure, I don't know at this point that we know what the infrastructure is, underneath, as I attended the meeting there, as well as some others did as well, as they've gone out in the country and looked at some of their blacktop roads that they have in the 5-year plan, they found that some of them had no substructure. They were basically blacktop on top of dirt. And so, in their plan was to take up the blacktop that was there and do it right. So.
That's the way they built them. We got them in our own city.
Yeah, we got it right here.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what they say tomorrow.
Yeah,
We'll
sure.
move forward from there.
So at this point in time, and that, yes, I can try and be there tomorrow. Yes, it's direct Chad to see if there is a time and that we could have the 2 commissions meet together as full commissions and just have an open dialogue and open discussion.
Sounds good.
Okay.
See what their reception is, see what their availability is, yep.
Start
Go from
there.
Sounds good. Now, do we want to put that in a motion so it's part of our records?
It's up to you. You can, or I will just state that it was agreed to
Just state
direct
it.
Chad. Okay. That we direct Chad to set up a joint meeting. Thank you.
Very
Don't you think you ought to have Gary involved in it? Because you know that superintendent of the county's gonna be there.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
He's your chief.
Yes.
You're only talking among yourself here. I didn't hear Gary's name.
No, but when we do a joint, then we would have Gary and Fedler also, because they're the two that, are the workers on the ground, the feet on the ground.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, my opinion is that when this thing starts rolling, I mean, I'll have my police chief there as well for
Right.
public safety
Exactly.
issues, for, Mr. Lawrence, he'll be there for the electrical. And it's kind of one of those, it'd be great to have everybody at the table so that we can take care of a lot of those little questions and things, bring everybody together and just discuss it. So absolutely, you're absolutely right.
Well, I got that. But you might have a question for you.
Sure.
And I'm going to ask,
What you told me.
okay, I'm going to ask that you come up to the microphone because this is recorded and people at home want to hear the question, and that keeps us, well, you can ask her question. You know what she said.
There's some issues,
Okay.
Good.
some big issues out there.
Sounds good.
I live there.
Yeah. So, all right.
And for your benefit, Mr. Casanova, most of the time, we're always discussing internally with staff. So Gary's been involved in the discussions already, and his predecessor before him as well. So, but it's a good observation. Thank you.
I know that guy, the county's in everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why they want the city to pick up all of this cash.
Well, actually, and that hasn't been brought
That it will.
Well, hasn't been brought for a few years, you know, so, but that is something too, you know, that would come out, and the public needs to be aware of it, you know, and so having an open discussion between both, you know, commissions would be great. So, all right, if no one, if you've got it in there, you know,
Sure.
then we'll just move on to number 5. Approve the volunteers for the Lake County Electronic Recycling Drop-Off Event. And Jen, you have the list, and everyone on the list is ready to go?
6 baseball players from DSU Baseball.
Okay.
Cover the event on 10/28.
I'll make a motion, we approve the volunteers for Lake County Electric Recycling Drop-Off Event on October 28th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And for that drop-off event, and that I would recommend that the public look at the items in that are not accepted at this particular recycling event, and bring those things in that are not on the list. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep. Hang on.